This is Mundaring Weir in Western Australia, where I lost my drone. Well, I didn't exactly lose it because I knew exactly where it was. More on that later. Mundaring Weir is a concrete dam that plays a significant part in the history of Western Australia. It was completed in 1903 as part of the Goldfields water supply scheme to support life and gold mining at Kalgoorlie and surrounding areas deep in the arid Western Australian desert. Down below the dam is number 1 pump station, which is the first of what was originally 8 steam-powered stations that moved the water 566 kilometres east and 400 metres up. I took my drone here and flew around at the top, then headed to the foot of the dam to get some different angles. The flight plan involved rising up behind that 40-metre chimney next to number 1 pump station, then flying over the chimney and across the spillway to the dam. I would then fly back and get the same thing in reverse. That spillway is not a good place to drop a drone. It's pretty dry, but there are fences with no entry signs and some vegetation ideal for hiding both drones and venomous snakes. The first part of the flight went fine, although the quality of the footage was affected by some gusts of wind. The flight to the dam also went well. It's the flight back to me where the trouble started. It should have been fine. The drone was 43 metres above the takeoff point, which was enough to clear any obstacles, including trees, buildings and the chimney. The battery was on the low side, but I worked out that there was enough to fly back to me at top speed and land safely with 10% or so left. Here I got an emergency landing warning and the drone started to drop. Couldn't see any way to cancel it. It's going to drop into the spillway! I was fighting the forced landing as best as I could, but the drone kept dropping and I lost the direct line of sight. I couldn't see where it was going using the display either because it was going backwards. I didn't have enough time to turn it round. I just kept my right stick hard back and tried to get sight of the drone again. Then, crash! I heard the crash but didn't see it. Did it hit a tree or a building? Looking at the controller display, I could see that it was on a roof. But which one? I used the Find My Drone feature and started walking around. No, it's not in Chad. The slightly inaccurate map showed that it was just off the end of number 1 pump station. In fact, it was here, on the pump station roof. In this photograph you can just about see it. Now I knew where it was. I could see that it was still working and had a bit of battery left. I could just fly it off the roof and down, easy. Except it wasn't easy. It wasn't even possible. At this low level of battery, the Neo refuses to take off. Even if it's a matter of life and death, as it was for my drone, it refuses to let you take off. It had about 9% left at the start, and I only needed 1 or 2%. I was frantically searching the options for an override and even did a quick web search, but nothing. I had to watch it refuse my takeoff attempts until the battery was down to 1%. Then, gone. I drove home droneless and carried on with life, including taking my dog down the park. He likes to think he's herding these swifts. A fellow dog walker mentioned that he has a Mini 2 drone. I was cheeky enough to ask if I could borrow it. I drove back the next day with his rescue drone. Thanks, Ross. So here then is the rescue craft, a DJI Mini 2, and a bit of fishing line, and a hook. Let's see if it works as a grappling iron to retrieve my DJI Neo from the roof. Here is number 1 pump station, here's where my Neo crashed, and here is where I placed my video camera. Here's the Neo taken from that video camera. Let's zoom out.
Home point updated.
This was the first time I'd flown this drone, or any Mini. It's not my drone and I was extra cautious. Before going up there with a naked hook, I decided to do a dummy run with corks on the points. I didn't want to get the hook snagged on anything or to crash into the centre spine of the roof. I've cut out or speeded up a lot of fiddling about and making sure that I had the kind of control I needed. One issue I had was that the Mini insisted on slowly drifting, particularly up or down. I needed to use very delicate movements on the controller to keep the drone where I wanted it. I wanted to make sure I could get the hook where I wanted it, without hooking the edge of a roof sheet or the wire mesh on the centre spine. Having satisfied myself that I was ready to try for real, I brought the Mini down to remove the corks.
Landing.
This is it for real then. Naked hook, let's get this thing done. Of course, the first thing I do is make a mistake. I didn't turn on video recording on the drone. I do have footage through the controller though, and remote footage from my video camera. I carefully edged closer to being directly over the Neo. This took a bit of shuffling because I wanted to keep looking forward to some extent so I could avoid the central spine. I've added in the remote video camera footage at the top left. I've speeded up a lot of shuffling up and down, back and forth as I attempted to get the hook in just the right place. Careful, let's not go near that join in the roof sheets. We now have the hook near the Neo, just lying on the roof. Bit of sideways movement. This is frustrating. Well, I moved it at least. Now, the hook is right under the prop guard. Up we go. This is like one of those fairground grab the prize things where you never get to go home with the prize. It's just to the side, carefully left, looks perfect. Up we go. No! Flipped it. Now, is that going to make it harder or easier to hook? One way to find out. Off to the side, drag it across. This looks promising. Just edge it left a bit. I'm glad I can concentrate on this delicate task without any interruption. What the fuck? I do not want to read that text right now. Slowly up we go. Yes! Got it! back off the roof, over the edge, and down.
Landing.
At this point I finally turned the drone video on for 3 seconds. Here we have the rescued Neo giving Hero of the Day Mini 2 a lovely thank you cuddle. Want to see the good bit again? Here you go then. This is from the video camera. This is from the Mini 2 via the controller. Note the propeller speed warning. I believe this was because the Mini was having to work harder to keep the extra 135 grams of Neo in the air. This was only happening for a few seconds, so I don't think it would have caused any damage. That's the end of the Mundaring crash saga. The Neo was none the worse for its experience, it works fine. It truly is the Nokia of drones. Thanks again to Ross for lending me his Mini 2, it's much appreciated. If you found this video interesting, entertaining or informative, I would ask that you support this channel by subscribing and otherwise engaging with the content. It really does help. Until next time, happy droning!